All right, I think we're live. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, or evening, or morning, or something in between, wherever you are. Thank you for joining our panel this afternoon. We're really excited. I'm going to do some just a quick overview of what we're going to do today. But before we do that, I think we should do the polite thing and introduce ourselves. So my name is Jenna Sukernek. I'm an assistant director of undergraduate admission at Northwestern. I get to do a couple cool things in our office, but I work primarily with students that go to high schools in the Northwest and Western suburbs of Chicago, Indiana, Kentucky, Alabama, and Arkansas. So if that's you, hi, how are you? Maybe drop where you're from in the chat below. Also, feel free to drop where you're from, even if you aren't from that area. We're all going to become friends today in this next hour. I'm a proud graduate school alum of Northwestern. I received my master's degree in higher education administration and policy, which is a program in our School of Education and Social Policy. And last but not least, I'm originally from just outside of Boston, Massachusetts. So if I talk quickly, that's why. But I'm not alone today. I'm lucky enough to have 4 awesome current students with me. Leo, do you want to start our introductions?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Leo. I'm a senior theater and economics double major here at Northwestern. I'm originally from the Washington, D.C. area. On campus, I'm the production manager for the oldest student theater board Arts Alliance, as well as the co-chair of the WAMU show, which is Northwestern's oldest theatrical tradition. That's a little bit about me, and I'm going to pass it off to Robby.
How's it going, folks? My name's Robby. It's nice to meet you all. I am a third-year student at Northwestern, originally from Deerfield, Illinois, which is like 30 minutes away from campus. Excuse me. I'm studying economics, math, and something called mathematical methods in the social sciences, which is more or less fancy talk for more economics and more math. I'm also getting a certificate in managerial analytics from the business school here from Kellogg. And when I'm not in class and I'm not doing stuff like this, I am running with the club cross country and track team on campus. I'm pretty involved in Jewish life on campus. And I'm also a peer advisor, which are our freshman orientation leaders in the fall. And that's my entire life in a couple seconds, I guess. And let's pass the mic off to Cami.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cami. I'm also a third year from Menlo Park, California. I'm studying learning and organizational change, which is in our School of Education and Social Policy. I have minors in business institutions and legal studies as well. When I'm not in class, I am one of the executive co-chairs for Northwestern University Dance Marathon, which is our one of our largest student groups and one of the largest student-run philanthropies in the country. Culminates in a 30-hour dance marathon in March. So that's very exciting and something that you could definitely be a part of when you come to Northwestern. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. Emily, would you like to go next?
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm a second year. I'm originally from Montgomery, New Jersey, which is just central Jersey. And I'm majoring in, excuse me, biomedical engineering and minoring in Spanish. And when I'm not giving tours, I'm external vice president for the Society of Women Engineers. And I'm also vice president for our Global Brigades chapter, where we organize trips to Honduras to construct water systems in under-resourced communities. So I'll pass it back to Jenna.
Great. Thanks for introducing yourselves, everyone. I am going to do just a quick 10-minute overview about Northwestern, and then we're going to go back to our awesome students and they can answer y'all's questions. Please type your questions in the chat while I'm talking. Maybe you have a question about one of the cool extracurriculars one of our students just mentioned, or maybe I say something and you want to learn a little bit more about it. Make sure you type those questions in, and also make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. If you are still thinking about what question you want to ask, hit that subscribe button. It's easy, it's free, and it makes us feel better. So, Northwestern, we should get started with the basics, right? So Northwestern University is located in Evanston, Illinois, and it's home to 8,000 undergraduate students. These students come from all over the world, as you can see in our introductions today. All 50 states are represented, and all our undergraduates represent more than 75 different countries. If we extend that to our graduate students, more than 150 different countries are represented on Northwestern's campus. But this geographic diversity is just one of many ways our students make our campus a diverse place to be, whether it's socioeconomic diversity, religious diversity, racial diversity, whether it's you prefer Coke or Pepsi, whether it's the fact that you call it pop or soda or some other third option. There's so many ways our students make our campus a diverse place to be, which we love. We think that really enhances our academic experience given our small discussion-based courses. So our small discussion-based course is just one of many ways we're committed to academics at Northwestern. And that commitment to academics begins when you apply, because when you apply to Northwestern, you apply to one of our 6 colleges. But you're by no means stuck to that decision. In fact, more than 70% of the students at Northwestern choose to study more than one thing. And how they're able to take advantage of these great opportunities is what we call our 6-school model. So we're one Northwestern, but home to 6 different colleges, the largest being the Weinberg College of Arts and Sciences, which is home to about half of our student body. The next largest is the McCormick School of Engineering. I think McCormick is great for a lot of reasons, but what really sets it apart is the unique whole brain approach they bring to engineering. So they're ensuring that students, when they graduate from McCormick, not only are they graduating as well-equipped and trained engineers, but as creative problem solvers ready to tackle on issues we don't even know exist yet. Our school of communication is fantastic. We're only one of the few schools that have a standalone school of communication within the top 15 universities. We also have Armadillo School of Journalism, Media, and Integrated Marketing Communications, which is world famous and provides a fantastic one solid major, and that's journalism. They also have some great certificate options. We can get into that a little bit later. Our Bean School of Music is fantastic because it's conservatory style. So what that means is students still have access to amazing professors, resources, performances, but all without the heavy competition that comes with the conservatory, and access to an amazing liberal arts curriculum, which we really value at Northwestern. And last and certainly not least is our School of Education and Social Policy, fondly referred to as CESP on campus. We like to say, maybe just me because I'm a proud alum, that CESP is the smallest but mightiest school. And that's really because it starts with about 50 incoming students every year, first year students. And then that class actually goes to about 150 by the time those students are getting ready to graduate. So I think it's a great example of the academic flexibility you will find at Northwestern. We really encourage our students to follow their interests and their passions. So by the time they're getting ready to graduate, students will talk about taking classes in 4, 5, sometimes even all 6 schools. And that's something we really love to see. And the reason they're able to do that is because of our unique academic structure, the quarter system. So maybe you are like how I was in high school and you have no idea what the quarter system is, totally fine. Maybe your high school is actually on the quarter system and you are a certified expert by now. Either way, we're gonna get on the same page today. So Northwestern's on the quarter system, meaning we break the year into 4 sections: fall, winter, spring, and summer, with the main academic year occurring in the fall, winter, and spring quarters. Don't worry, you'll still have a summer break. Many students will choose that summer quarter though for what we call experiential learning, like internships and research, which you definitely should ask our student panelists about. It's a really great system. Each quarter lasts for about 10 weeks and you take about 4 classes per quarter. And the classes you take are really up to you. You'll start off with something called Distributional Requirements, which are our class. They'll vary based on your home school. So the classes you'll take as a student in the College of Arts and Sciences as distributional requirements will be a little different than if you have a friend in the School of Education, Social Policy, and so on. These give you really a solid foundation before you take a deeper dive into your specific academic concentrations. And how that works in Northwestern is what we call a rule of 3. So we have almost 200 different majors and minors you can find on our campus. As long as you fit 3 of them in, so that can be a double major and a minor, a major minor certificate. You can even triple major in one of our schools if you're feeling extra ambitious. It's totally up to you. But believe it or not, our students have lives outside the classroom. We are lucky to be in a fantastic community of Evanston, Illinois, like I mentioned earlier. It is your quintessential college town with everything you would ever need from, grocery stores and doctor's offices, but home just a really supportive community. Evanston residents are very quick to welcome Northwestern students, and we're so lucky to have that. We're also super lucky to be just a hop, skip, and jumping away from the biggest cities in the world, Chicago. We're about 3 miles from city limits, about 11 miles in the downtown Magnificent Mile area. Our students can get to Chicago in really 2 ways. One is our free inter-campus shuttle. So Northwestern actually has 2 graduate schools in downtown Chicago, our medical school and our law school. We have a free intercampus shuttle, so you can get to the downtown campus. Let's say if you have an awesome internship at Lurie Children's Hospital or great fellowship at the law school, or just a free way to get downtown for a concert you're going to. It's a really great resource. And of course, we have the L and the CTA, that's Chicago's public transportation system. Once our students are in Chicago, there is so much they can take advantage of, whether it's attending a game at historic Wrigley Field, where we have NU Goes to Wrigley Day every year, where students get to check out a game for free. Or if you're food obsessed like me and pretty much everyone else in our office, Chicago has an amazing one-of-a-kind dining scene you should absolutely take advantage of. But another portion I think that makes Northwestern unique is kind of how we look at admissions and financial aid. So Northwestern University, if you want to apply, you can apply via the Common App or the Coalition application. Please use whatever your high school uses or whatever you feel more comfortable using. Don't send us both, they're the same thing. We have 2 application deadlines. The first is our early decision deadline of November 1. So you should apply early decision to Northwestern if we're your #1 choice school, right? Your closet is purple and white. Maybe the fight song is your ringtone. Maybe you have a stuffed wildcat at home named Willie that you love, right? Whatever it is, you want to be a part of our campus, and that's awesome. We love to see that. We say that for early decision specifically because when you apply ED to Northwestern, you, a parent or guardian, and a guidance counselor at your high school will all sign a document that states, if I'm accepted to Northwestern via early decision, I will be attending Northwestern University and I'll rescind all other college applications. If me just saying that makes you a little more nervous than you're comfortable with, or you're not quite sold on Northwestern yet, no worries. Regular decision is probably the better fit for you. That deadline is January 2nd, and you can apply to as many schools as you like. You're not bound to any of them. No matter when you apply though, we're going to be looking at the same things. One of the first things we look at is your high school transcript. So all the way a couple minutes ago when I mentioned all the great areas I get to work with, that's because every admissions director gets to know their area well. So we get to know that your high school offers AP or IB courses, or maybe it's neither of those. We just want to see that you're taking the most rigorous courses available to you and you're succeeding in those courses. Also, when I look at an applicant from Arkansas, I'm not comparing them to somebody from Indiana, right? Because that's apples and oranges. Just focus doing on the best at your school, what's available to you. We also want to know what you're doing outside the classroom. So make sure you're letting us know what you're doing when school's not in session. So maybe it's a job, maybe it's sports, maybe it's the fine arts, maybe family responsibilities. Basically anything that's not going home and binging the Great British Bake Off, we would like to know. We also require a test score, either the SAT or the ACT. We have no preference. Just know we will be super scoring your test score if you send us multiple for both tests, the SAT or the ACT. If you have questions about what that means, we're happy to talk about that a little later on. We also require letters of recommendation. So one from a high school guidance counselor, one from a core subject teacher. But maybe you want another adult in your life to add another letter of rec. Maybe it's another teacher. Maybe it's your coach. Maybe it's your supervisor at your job. Great, go for it. Just make sure they're adding a different perspective on who you are as a person. Also, it's quality, not quantity when it comes to letters of recommendation. If those only the 2 that we require sum you up perfectly, you don't have to send us any more. And then finally, we require essays. So we'll look at your common application or your coalition application essay. Please make sure you can pick a prompt that you can answer well and completely. And then we have one supplemental question, which is simply, why Northwestern? Make sure your answers to why Northwestern is as honest and specific as possible. You want to make sure you can't copy and paste it to another school's why our school when it makes sense. I'm going to wrap up with some stuff about financial aid, and then we'll get to what y'all came for, our student panelists. So there are 3 important things to know about financial aid in Northwestern. The first is that we are 100% need blind for domestic applicants. So if you are a US citizen, permanent resident, or undocumented student, and you're applying for financial aid to attend Northwestern, that need for financial aid will not impact your admissions decision. In addition, no matter where you're applying from, if you are accepted, we meet 100% of your family's demonstrated need. So you fill out 2 forms for us to determine that: the Fafsa, which is the Federal Form for Student Aid, which many of you have heard of, as well as the CSS profile. This is an additional financial aid form put up by the College Board that we require. Once you fill out those 2 forms, our financial aid office will come up with a number called an expected family contribution, or EFC. This is the amount of money your family is expected to contribute for your college education for that year. Any amount of money that goes beyond this EFC, but is needed to cover tuition, room and board, books, Northwestern will cover, and we cover that in the form of scholarships, grants, and sometimes work study, meaning that financial aid Northwestern University is 100% loan free. It's really important to us as an institution to be able to have all the students that deserve to be on our campus and that get in, be able to come, and that finances don't get in the way of that. So it's something we're really proud of as a school, to have a lot of financial aid offer to our students. If you have questions about financial aid, the Office of Undergraduate Financial Aid is the best people to reach out to. They are still taking calls and emails during this time. So if you or someone in your family has specific questions about maybe you or your situation, do not be afraid to ask. I can personally attest to how great they are. When I was a grad student, I would call them up to 3 times a week to make sure my bills were paid. So they are very nice and understanding. So definitely reach out. But it seems like a lot of y'all have other questions that hopefully our student panelists can answer, which now we're gonna kind of turn it over back to them. Leo, do you wanna take it away?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a lot of great questions coming in. We're gonna start off with a question for Emily. If you could speak specifically to what it's like to be an engineer, the engineering experience, with specific reference to what it's like to be a woman in engineering.
So just in general about engineering, coming to Northwestern, I think the one thing that I chose a school for specifically, and also what I found to be very true, is that it's really interdisciplinary, and something that Northwestern specifically emphasizes is this whole brain philosophy, where they want you to embrace that left brain, which pursues like the analytical approach and, you know, the more math, technical side of things, as well as the right brain, which is the more creative side approach, and just knowing how to work in a team, knowing how to think innovatively. And that's something that I found is present in the courses I take, the requirements that we have throughout my time so far. And more specifically, as a woman in engineering, I'm really glad to be at Northwestern. I have found a really amazing community within our Society of Women Engineers here. I started out as a committee member my freshman year, and now I'm external vice president for them, and so happy to be working on their exec board and just doing professional development for our members. Really, I think that the university places a lot of importance on these student organizations, especially for engineering, and especially for SWE, is short for Society of Women Engineers, because they know that as women engineering coming in, a lot of us face like imposter syndrome. We just feel like, oh, maybe we got in just because we're a girl, or there are a lot of guys in my class, or something like that. Those are a lot of fears I had coming in, and they've definitely gone away within like my first quarter here. There are a lot of, there will be some classes where you might feel like maybe some majors are more like heavy on the male, like in terms of there are a lot of guys in the class or something like that, but professors as well as all the students there are really not, we're all very progressive in the fact that we're all embracing the fact that women are just as capable as being engineers as any other gender. And that's something that I'm really glad to have here.
Thank you so much. That's a great response. So I wanted to, keeping on the STEM talk just a little bit more, or I wanted to talk a little bit about research opportunities on campus. Robby, I know you've done a lot of research on campus, if you want to speak to that a little bit.
Absolutely. So I have done research in one session so far, and I'll be doing sort of a second round of research next year as a fourth year student. So I'll quickly say a little bit about what I did last year during my second year as a research assistant, and I'll speak a little bit after that, about sort of how you can get involved in research in general. So second year, I did research in the economics department as a research assistant. I was working with a professor named Bert Weisbrod, who is unbelievably smart. It was so cool working with him. We were looking at something called pay for performance mechanisms in the public and voluntary sectors. That's a really, really long way of saying that sometimes when you pay people for performing a certain way, that works out really well. For example, if you pay someone for selling more stuff, that's called a commission. That's a great way to pay people. If you pay people in other capacities, for example, if you pay police officers based on the number of tickets they write, you see a lot of people writing tickets for parking, mistakes or whatever, and a lot fewer police officers actually trying to bust like higher level crime because the incentives are to write up parking tickets. So I did research along with 2 other research assistants alongside this professor, sort of navigating how these kind of perverse incentive structures appear in different areas. The long story short is the research was really, really cool. The guidance that I got from Professor Weisbrod was incredible. This was still, pretty early on in my career as a student, and so I didn't know a ton about doing research. I didn't know a ton about doing data analytics. I didn't really know where to start in terms of looking for papers. I think being an assistant and not really having my own research project at that point offered me a lot of guidance and structure in terms of what I was doing, which all builds up towards next year, when I'll be writing a thesis alongside 2 good friends of mine. We're going to be actually partnering with the Houston Police Force to study police response times to emergency calls in different parts of the city, see if the police are better at responding in some parts of the city than others, how we can make that faster, which is, I think, a really exciting project and one that the 3 of us are going to be totally directing ourselves. So plenty of ways to get involved in research, whether it's a self-directed project like a thesis, or if you're acting as a research assistant like I did my second year. Professors are always really easy to reach out to if you have a curiosity about what kind of research they do. So always very easy to reach out to folks, which just makes it really easy to like have a curiosity. Like I'm really interested in police, as you guys can tell. So super easy to take an interest and actually make it kind of appear in the real world as a researcher.
Thanks, Robby. That's a really, really interesting research it sounds like you're doing. We're getting a lot of questions about switching majors and coming in undecided. Cami, if you wanted to speak to that and how that works.
Definitely. So when I came into Northwestern as a first year, I was completely undecided. I actually applied to kind of every other school as an undergraduate business major. Northwestern does not have an undergraduate business major because our graduate school of business called Kellogg likes to accept students who actually aren't undergraduate business majors. So I came in thinking, how can I make Northwestern work, because I loved the school so much. I fell in love with the school. I knew it was where I wanted to be, but I was like, what am I going to study? I don't know. So I took classes in the Weinberg College of Arts and Sciences, where I started in. If you are undecided, the Weinberg College of Arts and Sciences is the place to apply because it has the widest variety of majors. So I started taking distribution requirements that we were just talking about, and started to hear about the School of Education and Social Policy, and specifically my major, learning and organizational change. And something just clicked for me about that major specifically. For me, it feels like the human side of business. It talks about like psychology, business practices, organizations. And I just felt like it was kind of the major that was made for me. So I decided that I wanted to switch schools from the Weinberg College of Arts and Sciences into our School of Education and Social Policy. And when I tell you that was easy, it was so unbelievably easy. One of the easiest things I've probably done at Northwestern, honestly, which is surprising because you think that it would be a big deal to switch schools, but it's not at all. All I did was meet with an advisor, fill out a half-a-page form, and the next week I was into the School of Education and Social Policy. And I'm still minoring in 2 minors that are in the College of Arts and Sciences. So even though you are housed in one academic school, you can still take classes across all of the 6. You can double major across schools. You can minor in different schools, and transferring between those schools is really easy. The only exception that I'll point out is the Beanan School of Music, because you do have to audition to get into the Beanan School of Music. Sadly, I could not pick up the tuba at age 18, but that is just how it goes. But basically, it's super easy to switch schools. I didn't declare any of my majors until the end of my sophomore year, and I still was able to study abroad, and I'm still on track to graduate early. So that speaks again to the flexibility of the quarter system and the flexibility that Northwestern warrants you when you come to campus. So no worries if you're undecided. Take a deep breath. You've got lots of time to figure it out.
Thank you, Cami. That's really helpful. I'm seeing a lot of questions about theater on campus. As a theater major, I was going to just respond to that really quickly. Basically, it's really easy to get involved with theater on campus extracurricularly. You don't have to be a theater major to participate. Northwestern has over 80 shows every single year between our theater groups, our dance groups, our comedy groups, and our improv groups. There's a whole lot of theater that I could talk about, but I will say We're doing a theater-specific info session on Instagram tomorrow. So if you follow us at Northwestern Admissions, we can do all the theater-specific questions for a full hour then. So I won't take up any more time on that now. I was wondering if someone wanted to talk about what it's like to be a part of the quarter system, the benefits and the challenges of the quarter system. Emily, would you mind speaking to that?
Yeah, I think that was something that I was worried about too coming in. Basically, as Jenna explained before, the way it works is that we mainly take classes during the fall, winter, spring quarters, and they're around 10 to 11 weeks. So, and then we have finals 3 times. So whenever you go on break, you've taken your finals already. So I think that's something that's really nice, is that I always come back for break and I don't have to worry about anything. But it's also funny because I'll come back for spring break and I'll be like, oh, I just finished my finals. My friends will be like, what? Like, I'm in the middle of my semester. But no, it's definitely given me a lot of flexibility with just having the ability to take classes that I'm genuinely interested in beyond just my major. I was talking to a friend in a semester school who's the same year as me, and she's like, I'm just so stressed about planning all the classes to fit into the 8 semesters I have left, or sorry, the 4 semesters that I've left. And I was like, I can't even imagine panicking about that. Like, that sounds so intimidating. I love that I have like 12 quarters left to fill. As a BME major, I'm minoring in Spanish. I'm on the pre-med track, so I have to fill all those pre-med requirements too. And I'm planning on studying abroad twice this coming fall and my senior winter. And I can fit all that in because of the quarter system. So that's just something that I really love about it. I think it can be a little, when you first come, like your freshman fall, I definitely was like, had to adjust a bit because it is going to be a little bit more fast paced. But there's so many resources on campus to make sure that you're able to keep up with your work. And if you feel like you're falling behind or you feel like you're facing some challenges, just speak to your professors. Like, they're so welcoming and they're all willing to help you so much. We also have like academic support organizations on campus and stuff like that too.
Great, yeah. And the one thing I'll add about that is that coming to college is already a transition. And if you're not coming from another university, you really don't notice the difference in what it's like to go from a quarter system to a semester system, because the transition from high school to college is already a transition that you're going to have to get used to anyway. Robby, as our native resident of Illinois, I was hoping you could talk a little bit about what it's like to engage with the city of Chicago and the Evanston area as a Northwestern student.
That's a great question. Like you said, I'm from around, I'm like 30 minutes away from campus right now in my hometown. But growing up, I never actually spent a ton of time in Chicago and certainly very little time in Evanston. But like Jenna said a lot earlier today, I think one of the best parts of being in Evanston is how easy it is to get to Chicago. A little bit about Evanston really quickly first. We're actually the self-proclaimed dining capital of the North Shore of Chicago. It's a really specific, but also really exciting thing to be. The food is phenomenal. We of course have, Paneras and Chipotle's, Noodles and Co's. Those are fine. The more exciting are the local places. Falconetti's Barbecue, Edzo's Burgers, Sushi Burritos serves sushi burritos. The list goes on. Tons of great food. It's a really exciting kind of town to be a part of and to live in. And then Chicago is phenomenal too. Like Jenna said before, we're only about, I want to say it's 12 miles away from sort of the city, sort of the center of the city, I guess, the Mag Mile or whatever, and really easy to get to and from. And then once you're there, like Jenna was saying before, never a shortage of exciting stuff to do. So my friends and I, during the regular school year, try to get to Chicago probably once every other week, whether we're doing a dinner downtown, whether we're going to some kind of a baseball game, a sporting event, whatever. Whether we're trying out new food in the city, whatever it might be, it's really, really easy to get to and from. One thing that I will plug, because I'm a runner, that I don't necessarily recommend everyone do, is I actually run every St. Patrick's Day to the St. Patrick's Day Parade. It's a 13-mile run along the lakefront. Is absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful city, a lot of fun stuff to do. So a really kind of exciting thing to get access to.
Thanks for sharing that, Robby. We're going to talk a little bit about campus specifically. We're getting a lot of questions about what people's favorite part of campus are. So Cami, if you wanted to speak to what your favorite part of campus is and maybe why.
Definitely. So this is the classic Northwestern student answer, but it is a favorite for so many, as it is the classic Northwestern student answer, and that is the Lakeville. So we are right on Lake Michigan, and the reason that we call it the Lakeville is because we actually added 85 acres to campus a while back, but we added 85 acres to campus because Northwestern was expanding at a rapid rate. So we needed to expand. The city of Evanston said we could not expand into their city. So we got creative, shipped a bunch of sand and limestone in from the Indiana Dunes and added 85 acres to campus to make the absolutely beautiful Lakeville. If you look up Northwestern, it's a lot of the pictures you'll see are of the Lakeville because it is gorgeous. It's my favorite place to go anytime it's warm. It's packed with students. There's hammocking. People are doing homework, watching Netflix and pretending to do homework, whatever it is. It's covered by Wi-Fi, so you have many options when you're on the Lakeville of what to do. It's also home to one of my favorite traditions on campus, which is called Armadillo Day, or Dillo Day for short, which is a music festival run by Northwestern students every year at the end of May or early June. It is a university sanctioned day of fun. Our president, Morton Shapiro, actually closes all the libraries. He says he doesn't want to see a single student studying on Dillo Day. So all of our students really love to enjoy this free music festival on their campus on the beautiful Lakeville right at the end of the year. It's one of my highlights every year, and it's probably one of the reasons that the Lakeville is my favorite part of campus.
Thanks for sharing that, Cami. We want to talk a little bit about faculty and what it's like to engage with faculty on campus. Specifically, people are asking, how many classes are taught by professors? How easy is it to talk to professors during office hours? So Emily, maybe you can speak to some of your experience in terms of engaging with faculty who teach your classes.
Yeah, all our classes are taught by professors. For the larger lecture-based classes, which will really be like a low percentage, I forget the exact number, but the really large ones are like less than 2%, like the ones that are going to be like biology or like chemistry or something. Those are always taught by professors too. And then you'll have smaller breakout sessions or like recitation sessions where you'll make sure that you're keeping up with the material and be able to ask a lot more questions in a smaller group with like graduate TAs, which I find really helpful too, because that can be a little less intimidating at times. But in general, like the professors aren't intimidating. It's just the thing that you have in your mind. I love the professors here. I think they all just care so much about our well-being and are just so incredibly intelligent. Learning from them is amazing because they're all just experts in their fields, especially right now with everything going on. Like all my professors have like reached out to each of us and been like, oh, just like general checking questions of like, how are you doing mentally? Like any like issues with your situation at home, like if it's hard for you to keep up with work, like just let me know. Like, of course, we'll be like understanding about that. But yeah, I think one specific time I really struggled with this one class because it was just hard material for me to learn. And I really didn't do so well in the first midterm. I was really upset. So I went to talk to the professor, and he was just the friendliest guy and just so helpful. And because of that, just like him working with me, like he would meet with me to make sure that I was keeping up with the material like individually. He set aside that time for just to help me alone. And that was just showed a lot to me about how much he cared about his students. Because of that, I got an A in the class, even though I really like bombed that first midterm. So I really love the professors here.
Great, thank you so much, Emily. I know Cami already mentioned one really important Northwestern tradition, which is Dillo Day, but Robby, I was hoping you could speak to maybe another tradition that you really enjoy taking part of. People are really excited in the comments to hear about that.
That is a great question. Dillo Day is my favorite too. And Jenna mentioned earlier, another one of my favorites is NU Day at Wrigley because I'm a huge Cubs fan, being from the area. So I'm going to rack my brain for, let's say, 3 seconds to think of some other good ones that are worth mentioning. Oh, here's a gimme. Okay. I would say that behind the ones that I just talked about, I think our biggest tradition on campus worth talking about would have to be the rock. It's called the rock because it looks like a gigantic rock. I actually recommend you all go on Google, pull up another tab and look for Northwestern Rock right now. It actually isn't a rock, believe it or not. You flash back to 1902, I want to say. Our graduating seniors that year actually donated a gorgeous quartz fountain to the university. that stood and prospered for a super long time in the middle of what's now called Rock Plaza until the mid 1950s or so, when a couple of first-year students snuck out after curfew. No curfew anymore, so don't worry about that. And painted on the side of the fountain was something along the lines of like freshman rule, seniors drool, which I guess was like an elite prank in the 1950s. I would say by today's prank standards, it's so-so. But ever since then, painting our fountain, now our rock, has been a huge campus tradition. So you'll see it gets painted like 2 to 3 times a week during the warmer months, I would say. Advertising for everything from concerts on campus to student philanthropies to just inside jokes with your friends. Like all good traditions, there are a couple of rules involved. So for one, you have to guard the rock for a full 24 hours before painting to mark your territory. There is actually a camera live streaming the rock 24/7 to ensure the sanctity of that rule. And for 2, the rock has to be painted after midnight under the cover of darkness to honor the original sacred group. So it's not a cult, kind of feels like one sometimes, but a really, really wonderful, like time-honored tradition that I think everyone should like try to get involved with at least once during their time.
Yeah, I've certainly some of my best Northwestern memories have come from painting the rock with people right after the sun goes down. It's super, super fun. Cami, I was hoping you could say something about something that surprised you about Northwestern after you got here, something you weren't expecting.
Definitely. Something that surprised me about Northwestern. I would say I knew coming into Northwestern that there were going to be like great opportunities. And that's one of the reasons that I chose it, that there were going to be really cool things that I could take a part of. But I think that I really only knew the tip of the iceberg when getting to campus. And I think that our first year program for orientation is called Wildcat Welcome. And that does a really great job of introducing you to all of the amazing resources that we have on campus and all of the amazing opportunities we have to get involved on campus. So I, for example, I never thought that I would find my favorite thing. One of my favorite things to do at Northwestern would be dancing for 30 hours in a dance marathon every year. People think I'm crazy, but that's just something that like I never even knew I could do before coming to Northwestern. On top of that, it's like opportunities for research. I never thought that that was something that could be part of my college experience, is doing research, especially because I am not a STEM person and never have been. But there are opportunities for that at Northwestern as well. On top of that, all these random fun events that happen at Northwestern are so great for the student experience. Like I got to see Hamilton my first year at Northwestern. All of our first year students got to see Hamilton as a special event. I also got to see Dear Evan Hansen the following year from an NU Nights program, which is a group that creates different programming for students to do in Chicago at night. There are just so many cool things happening here, and we couldn't even cover them in probably like a 6-hour long info session like this, because there are so many that I could name. And I think that that was the thing that I was most pleasantly surprised to find out about Northwestern, is that there were just anything that I wanted to do, pretty much I could do on campus.
Thanks, Cami. Certainly seeing Hamilton was super, super fun. I was a peer advisor that year, so I also got to go, which was super exciting. People are asking a lot about residence life on campus and dining on campus. So Emily, maybe you can speak to the different types of residences we have on campus and also what the dining options look like.
Yeah, so I would split our residential options into 3 categories. We have residential colleges, and then we have residential communities, and we have residential halls. So in general, I think they go in order of like increasing involvement and programming going on within the buildings. So for those colleges, they're going to have a more specific theme. We have a communications residential college. So within there, they have like radio, like rooms for like radio stations. They have like a theater. Within the, there's also like the political affairs residential college. I know there's a humanities residential college. Those will have a lot more specific programming catering towards the theme of that college. So you don't have to be like a student majoring in like poli-sci to be in the political affairs residential college. You just have to have some kind of interest because you'll fill out a little blurb about why you want to be in that college. And they'll have some really cool events specific towards those colleges within that building. For the residential communities, I lived in Allison my freshman year. So I was in a residential community with 1838 Chicago and Shepherd Hall. Those are all just residential buildings. And what was really nice about that was that I had access to all the amenities within that community. So it was really nice because we had the dining hall within our basement. So I would just roll out of bed and brush my teeth and go downstairs and eat breakfast. And I also took a lot of advantage of the gym in 1838 Chicago and the really nice study rooms and egg chairs in Shepherd Hall. So those, you'll have a faculty in residence in general, and mine was a Spanish professor here at Northwestern, and she was just such a delight. She would welcome us to our apartment to have meals, and she was a great cook. Homemade food was just so good. Or she would organize like TV show watch parties or Second City comedy shows, outings like that, just to help us all bond together. And then the residential halls will have some larger programming as well, but you won't have like a faculty in residence or something like that. It's more of your generic college experience where you'll just be in a large hall and be able to get to know a lot of people on your floor and stuff like that. And in terms of dining, I really like it at Northwestern. I don't even eat out that much at Evanston, which is like the North Shore dining capital. So we have 6 dining halls on campus. And for freshmen, you will register as the open access meal plan. So that means you can swipe into dining halls however many times you want, which is really nice. Maybe not so nice for my freshman 15, but I got unlimited meal swipes, which was great. And then you'll also get dining dollars. So these are just like tax-free dollars that you can use at certain locations on campus. One of my favorite places to use it was at Norris, which is our student center. We had some really great food options there. We had like Budlong chicken, Patty B's, which has a lot of really good like burgers or salads. We had Mod pizza. So that was really great for the dining dollars. And then another thing that I want to mention is that they're really great on campus about dietary restrictions. So I have a severe allergy to peanuts and tree nuts. So that was something I was worried about. They are really good about keeping allergens out of the dining halls, as well as catering towards gluten-free or kosher or any other dietary restrictions you might have.
Thanks, Emily. I certainly know that those egg chairs in Shepherd are like my favorite thing in the entire world. I studied in them like basically every week of freshman year. Robby, we're getting a lot of questions about the first year experience, specifically first year seminars and how all that works. So as someone who's spent a lot of time in the Weinberg College of Arts and Sciences and also been a peer advisor, if you could speak a little bit to what it's like to be a first year, specifically also touching on first year seminars.
Absolutely. So the first thing that I'll say before I talk about the first year seminars is a quick little bit about what Wildcat Welcome is, which is our orientation week for first year students in the fall. It's usually a week, sometimes it's 6 days, sometimes it's 8, whatever. It's a week-long program at the very beginning of the school year. Where we really introduce you to sort of the core pillars of what it's like to be a member of the Northwestern community. We learn what it's like to really engage in productive and engaging dialogue, how we get to challenge each other's beliefs and opinions in a respectful and productive way, things like that. It's a really rewarding experience. And you do so in what's called a PA group. A PA is a peer advisor. So a peer advisor is a second, third, or fourth year student who spends that week with you. And your PA group is going to be 10 to 15 students who kind of walk around with your peer advisor. So picture like mama duck and a bunch of baby ducks, and that's sort of what it's like for the first week on campus. And a really cool thing, at least in the College of Arts and Sciences, about the structure of those groups is that after Wildcat Welcome ends, you and all the kids in your PA group actually take a first year seminar together. So after really making these engaging and fulfilling connections during that first week, you get to spend a ton of time together that quarter, taking a class together with a professor about a huge array of topics. We actually have most students in the School of Arts and Sciences take 2 seminars their first year. So one is going to be in the fall, and then one is either going to be in the winter or the spring, depending on when it falls for you. The topics are widely varied. I had kind of a weird exception, so I only took 1 seminar. It was called The Politics of Housework, and it was all about the changing role of women in the American home over the course of American history. It was a really, really cool class. I learned a lot from my professor and a lot from my classmates too. Again, that was, I think it was like a 12-person class. So it just really cultivates deep and engaging and thought-provoking dialogue. It was easily one of my favorite classes that I've taken here. And you look at other classes too, they're offered across departments, across professors. So you'll see some kind of zany math type classes being offered. I had a couple of friends who took one about the universe, which like, I don't know how they taught a class about the universe in 10 weeks, because that's like everything is in the universe. But they did it, I guess. So a huge array of options, just really cool, engaging in such tight-knit environments.
Thanks, Robby. We're getting a lot of questions about community service opportunities on campus as well. Emily, I know you've done a decent amount of volunteering experience in your time here at Northwestern. Would love if you could share your experience as a volunteer and doing community service on campus.
Yeah, I really love the service opportunities here on campus. For one, my freshman year, I volunteered through Jumpstart Corps. The way I found out through that opportunity was through the Center of Civic Engagement. So I'm on their listserv, and I think it's a really great opportunity. You can just look them up too, just see how we're getting involved with our community. And what we would do is we would go in around like 15 hours a week to a local preschool and implement a language literacy as well as social and emotional curriculum at an under-resourced preschool. And it was just so much fun to work with the kids. I just love working with kids because they're hilarious. So that was a really great opportunity to give back to my community. Right now, I volunteer through Special Olympics. You might have some chapters at your high school. Basically, we work with persons with disabilities. So for what I did this past quarter was we would join them during their swim class time. And that was really fun just to like get in the pool and play around with them and just have fun. But another thing I like to highlight about Northwestern in Service is that we have a day dedicated completely towards it. It's our NU Gives Back Day, and that's when all the students, or a lot of students, will do a day of service. There's a lot of different things you could be doing that day. A lot focused in like Evanston, whether it's like cleaning up parks or working at a local food bank or something like that. And I really love that I'm at a university that treasures something like that.
Thanks, Emily. That's a really, really touching response. Cami, I wanted to turn to you. Maybe a little bit more of an introspective question. How did you know that Northwestern was the place for you? Maybe before you apply, or as you were in the application process, but also once you were here, and then once Cami's done, Robby, if you wanted to briefly speak to that as well.
Yes, definitely. So I actually had an older sister who went here, and we were complete opposites in terms of what we were studying, our personalities, pretty much everything. Love her to death, but never thought Northwestern would be the place for me because she went here. My parents told me to go on the tour, go to an info session when I was visiting my sister on campus. And I said, okay, sure, I'll do it. Immediately realized how wrong I was, and immediately realized why I fell in love with Northwestern back then and what I still love today, which is that there are so many different types of people that fit into Northwestern. You don't have to be studying a certain major. You don't have to be involved in a certain thing. Really, we want to accept you for who you are and what you're passionate about. And that is my favorite thing every single day, is meeting the amazing students we have on campus and learning about what they're involved in, the cool class they're taking, whatever it is that they're passionate about, was really something that I loved. And when I visited, I felt so welcomed by students who wanted to just tell me why they loved Northwestern. And I was blown away by how many people wanted to help this senior in high school decide where she wanted to go to college, because everyone wanted to tell me just why they loved this school so much. Outside of those factors, it really checked every box for me. I wanted a school that was mid-sized, where I would get to know the people in my classes, but still meet new people all the time. I wanted a school that was near a major city. Chicago is one of the best cities in the world. No one can change my mind about that. And additionally, it has a beautiful campus that I fall in love with every time I walk through it. So it checked all those boxes. And then on top of that, I had this just great feeling that people loved to be here, and people were so happy to be here and so happy to be in this place with so much going on. I was really attracted to the fact that I could pursue a lot of different things as well, with the freedom of the quarter system and with the amazing opportunities that we have at Northwestern. And I didn't just have to pick one major, one student group. I was able to have freedom to choose all of that. So that is why I fell in love with Northwestern, why I stay. Yeah, Robby, go ahead.
I'm going to sound kind of like a broken record player and say a lot of the stuff that Cami was just saying. I think the things that really drew me to Northwestern at the outset were the combinations that it had to offer. So on the one hand, I knew going to college, I really wanted classes that were going to be rigorous and stimulating, but I also wanted a really supportive environment to learn in. I wanted professors who would support me, and I wanted classmates who I would collaborate with, not who I would compete with. And that's what I found was some of the coolest, most challenging stuff I've ever learned that I have ever imagined anyone could learn. And just this unbelievably supportive network to learn it in has been a huge part of my experience here. I wanted access to a college town and to a big city, and I couldn't have gotten much better. Evanston is a wonderful town, even better food. And Chicago, like Cami was saying, is pretty tough to beat in terms of just like cosmopolitan capitals of the world. I wanted Big Ten athletics. I wanted to be at a university that had a ton of school spirit and where sports was a huge part of the culture. But I also wanted to be an athlete in my own right. I love to run. And I knew that Division I running wasn't really in the cards for me. And I've loved that I've gotten to cheer on the Cats at the Big Ten level, and I've gotten to run for our club cross country team. But I think since I've gotten to Northwestern, I've been here for almost 3 years now. The combination that I appreciate most is what the student body has to offer. I really wanted and valued students at a college who were passionate, driven, intellectual, motivated, and who were human, sincere, down to earth, and kind. And I think that that's what Northwestern students really embody the best. I've got one super short story to share that I think really kind of ties that up well, and then I'll stop talking. That is about my good friend, Andrew. Andrew and I have known each other for most of college. And the first time I really realized I loved Northwestern was a night in May of our first year. It was a Sunday night, like 1 o'clock on a Monday morning, I guess. Andrew and I were studying together. As we tend to do, we got a little distracted. We had a conversation about learning and how we learn and why we learn. And it was without a doubt the most engaging conversation I've ever had in my life. It's one that I will not forget for a long time. But 2-3 hours earlier, we weren't talking about the meaning of education, the meaning of life. We weren't even studying. We were actually driving a golf cart through residential Evanston. Were we supposed to have the golf cart? I'm not going to say. Was it fun? It was exhilarating. There's nothing more fun I learned that night than zooming down sidewalks in the golf cart that maybe you're not supposed to have. And I think that that really, more than anything, embodies why I love it here. Is Northwestern students love driving golf carts when they shouldn't be. And they love talking about the meaning of life at 1 o'clock on a Monday morning. And they love studying together and exploring Chicago together. They love learning together and living together. And that's a really, really special thing. And that's the end of my rambling.
Thank you for sharing that, Robby. So we're just about out of time. I want to thank everyone on our panel and everyone who has been tuning in. I'm going to turn it back over to Jenna just for some closing words.
Thank you so much, Leo, and thank you to the students that joined us today. And thank you for watching. We know there's a bunch of stuff going on right now, so we appreciate you taking the time to watch us. So one final question before we leave for our current students on our panel. What is one word you would use to describe Northwestern? Cami, do you want to start us off?
Yes, passionate. Robby?
Devoted. Let's go to Emily.
Balanced, and we'll head over to Leo.
I would say fulfilling.
The word I would use is empowered, but I love all of those. If there was a way to combine 5 words in one, I would, to describe Northwestern. So hopefully you got that sense from our talk today. Make sure, like I said earlier, to subscribe to our channel so you can catch this and other great programming we have coming up. The more subscribers we get, we can actually feature some cool and different content. So please subscribe. There's also a link in the chat about putting in your information so you get emails about when we do awesome stuff like this. So make sure you fill that out. But thanks again, y'all, for watching us. We really appreciate it. Go Cats. Bye.